Jeff, what?
Nah, too far, right? Like, yeah, I mean, that comment would have been made 2 weeks ago. I get it, but not now. Like, I just think it was ill-timed. We do all kinds of media relations classes in the NFL. Head coaches have to sit in them as well. He should have just stopped at, this is where he is, this is the protocol he's coming back from, because to talk about, hey, player health and safety now is a drum I'm going to beat, and that I'll always be. We saw him get up, and, you know, I talked about it that week. He never reached for his back. Like, we all clearly saw what happened. So to say that now, again, I'm not sure. That's not going to sell, like, in the locker room. We understand what that looks like. You should have said, hey, we missed it. We're going to try to be better next time. Here's the protocol he's going through. But it frustrates me when I hear that because, again, you're 2 weeks late on that comment. It should have been said to you. And if not, just bypass it. Again, too far at that moment, in my opinion.
And Marcus, I've not heard from you. I know you were on First Take on Friday, but you were not here. What is your perspective on this story, which obviously has gotten an enormous amount of attention all across the spectrum, even beyond football fans, and then on what the coach said yesterday?
Yeah, a lot of what Jeff said, but I want the head trainer to say something. And I understand that those guys don't get out in front of a camera a lot, but Mike McDaniel just don't need to talk about it. That's number one. He said the wrong things. Player injury or risk, I would never put a guy out there. Guys go out in games playing hurt all the time. That's a lie. It's not about Mike McDaniel not loving his guys or wanting to protect his guys. But majority of the NFL players, by the time you get to week 7, they going out there with something hurting or some type of issue physically. The other part is when we saw what happened in Cincinnati, we should have been on Sunday when they played against the Buffalo Bills is where we should have went to, because we saw Tua be concussed. And I think I talked about this on First Take last week, G. We should have been raising holy hell. I should have been raising holy hell about Tua even playing. And then the fact that they were playing the following Thursday after we saw what happened against the Buffalo Bills. So this was a failure on the Miami Dolphins as a franchise, as a whole. Because even if you don't catch it, even if you think it's a back and an ankle, I don't know how the hell you thought that, because everybody that watched it that had any involvement in football knew it was a concussion or he was concussed or knocked out. But if you had any inclination and if you went back and reviewed the film of the Buffalo Bills game, it ain't no way in hell Tua should have played Thursday against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm not even talking about him getting tackled and hitting his head against the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm talking about this right here. Look at him. He shook his head. He wobbly, trying to figure out what's going to happen. He falls again. And we accept it because we become desensitized to it and just take the word of the people that's evaluating him. The dude was concussed Sunday, and he went back 4 days later and played a football game. That was the failure. The failure, obviously, in the Bengals game, that can happen. That can happen to a quarterback without a previous concussion. If you bang your head on a turf surface, you could look like Tua looked. But we saw him get concussed the Sunday previously, and 4 days later played another game, and we didn't raise hell about it. So it's not on us, but I think we just can't we can't think that they got this fixed and everybody's going to make the right decision.
Quickly, and it isn't a quick conversation, but the two of you were there when the collective bargaining agreement and a lot of these provisions were being negotiated. Yeah. So I know you have a lot of insight.
I mean, it's frustrating to me to listen to and read fans and media and everyone being all up in arms. We all got to take responsibility. And I think Mike McDaniel in that press conference, he should have taken responsibility. Don't pretend like you out here protecting all the players. Take responsibility for the role that you played in that. And Swagoo's taking responsibility for not raising more noise before that. He's taking responsibility. All of us, and the fans in particular, need to take responsibility, because it's not just these ugly hits that are a problem. Like, every weekend that there's football played, there are players out there who shake hands afterwards and feel fine, but they have gotten closer to having some sort of long-term issue or having some sort of CTE. So we all understand that. We accept that. And what frustrates me is all these people, fans in particular, pretending like they give a damn about Tua or they give a damn about football players all of a sudden. When we're in these collective bargaining meetings and we're arguing to not have Thursday games after Sunday games, to have a bye, to not have a 17-game season, arguing to increase the pay of players because the risk of this game is so damn high. There are not fans up there fighting and throwing themselves all in a tizzy on Twitter because of that. They're yelling at us then like, no, get back and play football. So just keep that same damn energy. You give a damn about Tua now, give a damn about all the rest of the players in the offseason when we're trying to fight to have a second opinion. We have to give up percentage points of our salary cap in order to force the teams to give our players a second opinion in doctors. And don't nobody give a damn when we're doing that.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.